It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm sorry I've been gone so long, and I know I always use the same excuse, like, oh, it's school, but, I'm really more focused on school and other things in my life than YouTube, and I honestly kind of wanted to give up on this whole thing a while ago, because, I couldn't see it going anywhere, and I didn't really have the motivation to do anything, but, I'm gonna give it another shot. So, I have a lot of, animations and animatics that I want to make, that are all related to some of my own characters, so I'm gonna have to do some explaining. I'll have a few videos coming out just talking about my characters and their stories, so, everyone isn't completely confused when I watch the animations and stuff, if they do end up watching them. You don't have to watch all the videos if you don't care. They're not in a certain order. Watch them if you want, however you want. It's your decision. But for this video specifically, I will be talking about a set of characters that were actually kind of created on accident. I hope you enjoy. If you don't, I'm sorry. Let's get started on this absolute train wreck. This is unscripted, by the way, so I'm sorry if I just stop talking, if I pause. I do that a lot, but I hope it's okay. So this whole thing started one day when I was in a call with my friend. We're gonna call them Vierdu. I don't think they're comfortable with me saying their name on YouTube, so I'm just gonna call them Vierdu. So I was in a call with Vierdu, and we looked something up on Google. I don't remember what it was, but I know that eventually we started going down a rabbit hole. We went down to those things that are here are some questions that other people asked that also looked up what you searched or whatever. And eventually, as we looked at the questions, I started answering them. And eventually, I got to one of the questions and I answered with, I am God. And then Vierdu was like, what? And I was like, I am God. And they're like, okay. So then we continued, and we ended up getting to another question, and Vierdu answered the question with, I am God. And I said, no, you're second God. I'm first God. And then it started. We then decided to make a few of my other friends some gods. So we made third God, a really close friend of mine, who actually used to show up in my old videos. If any of you have stayed around that long, I really doubt you have, but if you have, you guys may know her as Kitty, but we're not gonna call her that because that was stupid and cringy, so we're just gonna call her by her real name, Sara. So Sara was third God. Fourth God was another friend of mine who we're going to call Void, and then fifth God was another friend of mine who we're gonna call Sauce, because that's their YouTube channel name. I'll have that in the description if you want to check that out. You don't have to. Do what you want. My god. There's 3 other people who aren't exactly gods. They don't have numbers. They're not 6th, 7th, and 8th god. They're different. So we have a friend of mine, or he's kind of a friend of mine. We're gonna call him Gots, because I don't know if I can use his real name either, so we're just gonna call him Gots because that's easier. He is the god of chaos. His whole job is that he basically, he watches over things going on in the human world. By the way, this whole thing is kind of like a government in a sense. First god is the head of it, and then all the others are just also a part of it. They don't all have their own specific roles. They're just kind of helping out in whatever way they can. It's actually more like a kingdom than a government. First god likes to see herself as the queen instead of the president or whatever, and the whole thing is in heaven. The god of chaos, what he does is as I said, he watches over things that happens in the human world, specifically wars and stuff, and he decides when they stop and when they start, and he's not just completely chaotic, he knows when something is taken too far. He understands that, so he knows when it should stop. That's just his entire job. Making sure the humans don't destroy themselves, but also that they're not living extremely peaceful lives all the time. Then there's my other friend, Shiloh. I'll have their YouTube in the description as well. They do animatics and stuff, and they're really good. Go give him some love. He is the next gen god, which how I interpreted it was that he basically works on creating new humans. So like, he just creates new humans. I don't have to explain that. He's also my loyal hitman, by the way. Void, who is fourth god, he is my secret hitman, but we don't talk about that. It's a secret. I didn't tell you. Shush. So, there's Shiloh. And then there's my other friend, Amy, who doesn't do YouTube anymore, but doesn't matter. They're great. That's all you need to know. She is the head of the Royal Guard, and also currently the new fourth god, because something went down with Void. Void didn't do anything wrong. It's just basically what happened was that one day, fourth god decided that he was unhappy with how first god was ruling. So I created this character called Head of Services. And what Head of Services does is she answers any question and she helps in any way she can. I call her Surf because it's a lot easier. She talked to him, and what happened was that she decided to make him the general instead of fourth god. So he became the general of the kingdom, government, whatever you want to call it. After there was no fourth god, I was like, okay, well, Amy's joining, so she might as well be the new fourth god. We'll do that. Sure. So I'm gonna go a little bit into depth with what has happened in the storyline of this so far, so that people understand more for my animatics, because the first animatic and the first animation meme I'm making are both based around this world. So I'm going to put a lot of explaining into this, I guess. I don't know if that's the right sentence, but whatever, I don't care. The Royal Guard, how they work exactly is that it's Amy, and then the rest of the guard are all statues that they all serve first god no matter what. They always follow her orders. What happened, what went down, is that after the general became the general, he decided that he still wasn't happy with how first god was ruling. So he decided to sneak into her throne room and kill her. It didn't exactly go to plan. She still ended up dying, but some stuff happened. You'll see that in an animation meme when I get to it. I love waiting. Love waiting for explanations. I'm just gonna give a little disclaimer. A lot of things I'm not going to go into because they'll be shown in animatics or animation memes, so I'm sorry for the amount of times I say that, but you know, oh well. The thing with the gods is that they're kind of immortal, so like when they die, they'll, like after a few weeks or however long it takes them to regenerate, depending on how, like the way they were killed, they'll come back inside of this like regeneration room that they have in the palace. I'll probably make a video eventually just going a little more in depth with that room, because it's a little hard to explain how it looks and how it works right now since I don't have it fully figured out. But yeah, they have a regeneration room where they come back all like fully repaired. There is one material that can kill gods for good, and the only person who has access to this material is first god, and she has this weapon, and so do all of the other first gods, like all the previous ones. Oh yeah, by the way, there are previous gods. They're like different generations. So like, I'm gonna use first god as my example here, because that's easy. So the previous first god decides one day that he should step down and let someone else take his place. So how he does that is he looks at the people who just recently died, and then he decides which one of them should take his place. And then that person will be taken to the palace from wherever they were after they died, and then he'll spend a few days telling them what their new job is and how this new life's going to work, and then he'll disappear. I'm not entirely sure what happens to them after they disappear, but I know that they're just not gone forever. Something something does happen to them, but I haven't figured it out yet. I also want to mention that, like, with the previous gods and all that, whenever the current gods decide to do something that's going to have severe consequences, if a previous god has done the exact same thing, then the current god will get, like, they'll suddenly, like, see in their minds what the previous god did and what the consequences were. And this doesn't always stop them, but for sometimes it, like, will stop them, basically. That's not too hard to understand. So then, after first god died and she came back right after her funeral. Obviously, what she decided to do first was let out her anger. So she went to the general and she punished him in some way. I can't say what it is because that's for an animatic. So then after she killed him, she went about killing everyone else. She killed all of the main gods, she killed the god of chaos, and then she killed head of the royal guard. She didn't kill next gen, and I can't say why, or why she didn't, or like how she killed all of the others, because that's going to be saved for my first animatic. So sorry about that, but you'll see it soon. Don't know how soon, but soon. So then, what happened was while they were all regenerating, the previous first god was able to intervene and create, like, a temple that was far away from the palace. So all the gods that died regenerated there in that temple instead of at the palace. So first god didn't know where they were. And by the way, I mentioned earlier, when the gods are going to do something bad, if a previous god has done it, then they'll see, like, flashbacks of what happened in their mind. But when the general went to go kill first god, he didn't see anything because no one had ever decided to do that before. So, and, like, the first god had never gone on a killing spree, so she didn't see anything either, because no one had ever thought about doing it before. No one ever decided to do that. So, like, this is all new stuff. It's never happened before. I don't know what happened with this generation of gods, but something happened. So, what had happened a little bit before they all died, the general and third god started dating. And after they regenerated in this temple, they decided they were going, like, everyone was going to stay there, and they were going to figure out what they were going to do about first god. So, something happened between third god and general, and they decided to break up. Well, third god broke up with general. And after the two of them broke up, the general decided to run away from the temple and back to the palace, and he decided that he wanted to become allies with first god and take revenge on all of the other gods, so they became allies. That's kind of where the story left off. Not much has happened since then. The only thing that has happened is that, like, first god and general have announced their alliance to the rest of heaven, including the other gods, so, like, they know. And then, at some point, first god had decided to go out and try and find the temple. She didn't find the temple, but she did find third god. And, she tricked her into trusting her. So then she trapped third god underground, which is kind of hard to explain, but I guess I'll touch upon that in an animatic or an animation or something. It'll be touched upon. It will be explained eventually. So then after third god got trapped, first god disguised herself as third god and went to a place that the other gods were temporarily staying at for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just, it wasn't their actual temple. So first god still doesn't know where that is. So she pretended to be third god for about a month. Like, she trapped third god on a full moon, and then the next full moon, they switched back. So she gathered a little bit of intel, and then freed third god, and then went home. That's kind of all of the story I have for now. There's not much else that have happened. Definitely more things will happen over time, because this is just a thing. Not all of these events reflect things that actually happened in our lives. I'm not going to say which parts are real and which parts aren't, but there are some things that reflect what, like, our actual lives and what has happened between our friend group. So obviously this is going to be a long story with things just happening over time. And, yeah. I also want to mention that, like, I have a list of all of the animatics and animation memes I currently want to make, and I'm going through that list one by one, so I don't have any control over which, things come out when. They'll come out eventually, once I finish them, and once I get to them on my list. But yeah, that's all I have to talk about. Sorry for how much of a mess the audio is. As I said before, this is unscripted, and I'm kind of tired. I currently have a fever, I think. If I don't, I at least have a pretty bad headache. So, like, I haven't really done anything all day. If you enjoyed, do whatever you want. You don't have to subscribe or like or anything. Just do what you want. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. If you want, go check out my friends' YouTube channels. They deserve all of the love and appreciation. That's all I have to talk about. I hope you have a nice day or night wherever you are, no matter what you decide to do. And, yeah. Bye-bye.